Hello and welcome again to another bearing removal and installation video featuring Boca bearings. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than normal in that I don't have the bearings from Boca on hand as I'm taping this now. I do have the engine and it's right here. And this engine is a Russian-made engine that dates back to 1984. It's a Raduga 10RU or a 61 size displacement engine. Now this engine was given to me from a friend in Uzbekistan, and it has some pretty rough feeling bearings. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be disassembling this engine first, and then we will get to the bearing removal portion of this video. Then I'll have to measure the bearings and order them from Boca for the installation, just because of the fact that this engine is so rare. They don't have a listing on the Boca site for these bearings or for these engines. So that's the introduction. Let me get this engine disassembled and then we will go ahead with the bearing removal. Okay, so let's begin the bearing removal and measurement phase of this video. So I have the engine here. I just popped the front housing screws out. I'm only going to be dealing with the front housing at this time. Wow, looked like the bearing already wanted to come right out of there. That's unbelievable. So on the table, I've got the front housing and a bearing that's really already ready to come out. And the tools I'm going to need to do this, which maybe I won't even really need any tools now. I've got a flat nose punch for maybe the front bearing, which might be stubborn, or a wood dowel. I've got a piece of wood block here that I thought I might need to tap this crankshaft out, but I may not need that. My hammer, my bench vise, heat gun, which I may or may not need at this time, and my heat resistant gloves. So since I just pulled that front housing off and this thing just wanted to come right out, that's interesting. I have yet to see that before. So this engine dates back to probably 1984 based on the inscription on the mounting lug. So these are 40-year-old bearings. They don't feel bad, but we're going to do an upgrade to Boca bearings anyway. So let's see here. I think this will fit in there nicely. So I think I am going to heat this front housing up because I got a funny feeling that this is not going to want to come out quite as easily as that crankshaft. Let's see if that's enough to, let me just use the metal punch here and see if I can just, yeah, this thing's just coming right out. So there's our bearing there, it came right out. And for the rear bearing removal, I'm going to use the punch. Oh, that's coming right off very easily. It's got to come over that little portion there. Let's get this thing fully off here. There we go. So there we've got our bearings off here. And I got oil that splattered all over the place. Alright, so here's our rear bearing, front bearing. Let's measure what size bearings I'm going to need here for this. So I love this digital caliper from Boca. So we're going to measure our inside diameter of the front bearing first, and we've got a 6.94 millimeters, 6.91. I wonder if this is an imperial. It's a 0.271 inch. The outer, these should be metric. You'd think these would be metric bearings coming from Russia. So we had a 6.94 and an 18 or a 19 by 6.03. I'll have to see if these are actually measurements that match up with can't imagine these being, that's not quite 1/4 inch, so I don't think that's 3/4 inch. Maybe this is an imperial bearing. Let's see what this one says here for ID is 14.92. So a 28 so a 1528. That sounds like a metric bearing. 1528.7. Yeah, that's a standard metric bearing there. This one here might be like an R6 or something. I'll have to double check. Let's see here. Was this like a 1/4 inch? Let's see what this shaft is. It's slightly over a 1/4 inch. It's a 7. It's a 7, so we'll call this a 7. 719 by 6. That's just, it's an odd size, but I'll put the actual sizes here on the video, and let me go and see what kind of sizes I've got here, and then we'll get some bearings ordered from Boca, and we can do the installation portion. Okay, so welcome to the final segment of this Raduga 10RU bearing installation video. It's been a few weeks since the first segments because I had to get bearings on order, and I really just wanted to wait until I had enough bearings to warrant an order from Boca. So here we go. The things on the table that I've got that I'm going to need to do this bearing installation are the cleaned up crankcase from the front of this 10RU engine, cleaned up crankshaft, piece of wood, light hammer, just a old socket extension to use as a drive, and I've got a small precision screwdriver. I've got a glass jar to put some Boca's Lightning Lube road power in to lubricate these parts, and then of course I got the bearings, vise, heat gun, and my protective gloves. So the first thing I'm going to do here is just take these bearings out, and we're going to make sure that they are in fact the correct ones. So this one, as the last little segment said, this is an MR607ZZ, and I like to just do a visual comparison here just to make sure it looks like that is the correct bearing. So I'm going to be removing, and see this bearing, this engine came with open shields on both sides. That is not how I'm going to do this. I am going to just remove a shield on one side and leave the outermost shield intact. Now here's our main rear bearing, and of course, as most always, we have both sides of that open. And this one was a MR6902ZZ, which of course the ZZ means these permanent metal shields, which I'm going to be removing. And again, this looks to be the right parts. So let me start by removing these shields, or at least the one on this side of the front bearing. And I just get in there with this small precision screwdriver on the inner race and just lift that out, just like that. This one I'm going to do both sides. So I just kind of poke in there, get up and lift it out real quick and easy. And so those are ready to go. Now what I'm going to do here is take the lid off my container and put one squirt of road power in here and lube the outer races. I'll lube the inner one here because I think my finger actually fits in there. Not like it really needs it, but we will, because I'm also lubricating the crankshaft just to help. And the crankcase, really want it in the crankcase too. So now that our parts are all lubricated, I can move this out of the way. And I like to go ahead and install the rear bearing on the crankshaft. That way, when you go to insert this, when the front bearing is installed, you've got that centering mechanism and it's a much straighter shot. So I don't need that in my way now. I'm going to put my glove on and heat this front housing up, and then we'll get these bearings installed. Now, heating the front housing up, or the aluminum portion up, just allows because of the thermal expansion properties of aluminum, it allows it to open up a little bit more, slightly change the tolerances so that the bearings go in there a little bit easier. So, shield facing out, we'll get this front bearing installed. And that's in place. Now, we're just going to slide this in here oh, look at that. I didn't even need to tap that in there at all. So, look at that. I think it's interesting that this engine dates back to 1984, and it looks like they've either serialized the counterweight, the crankshaft, or that's just the part number of it, so that when people are assembling it, they are assembling the correct parts, I'm assuming. So there you have it. That's all there is to removing and replacing the bearings on this very old Russian-made Raduga 10RU two-stroke engine.